Max Rokitansky tells the story in a narration that he used to be a cop and a road warrior and that he is now traveling around post-apocalyptic Australia in order to escape the haunting memories of his deceased wife, child, and other people he was unable to save. Max steps on a two-headed lizard that crawls close to him as he stands on a ridge and surveys the area before eating it. He drives off, but is soon pursued by a band of Radiation-6 scavengers known as the War Boys, who are all pale and covered in blisters. Before capturing Max, they chase him through the desert and make him crash. Max is taken to the Citadel, a network of caves in a very tall mesa, where the War Boys keep their secret hideout. They shave his face and head. In order to use him as a source of blood, they tattoo a message on his back stating that he is a universal blood donor, type O negative. They brand him with an image of a skull engulfed in fire and cover the lower portion of his face with a trident-shaped iron snout, but he tries to escape and flee from the War Boys. The chase through the caves demonstrates how large and well-equipped with greenhouses and water supplies the Citadel is. Max keeps seeing pictures of the dead as he rushes until he reaches an escape that is located very high above. He leaps out and grabs hold of a swinging hook, but when he swings back in the direction of the War Boys, they are managed to drag him back into the tunnel. Immortan Joe, the War Boys' leader, leads over a sizable population of survivors in the Citadel. Joe uses air hoses connected to a bellows system on his back to help him breathe, probably since his lungs are destroyed. He also wears a bizarre face mask made of horse teeth placed in a big pair of jaws. Joe turns the water off after a few seconds, sending everyone into a frenzy and fighting for it as he addresses a gathering on the ground under the Citadel. He cautions the populace against developing a need on water so they won't lose their minds if it disappears. After that, Joe dispatches his commander Imperator Furiosa, accompanied by a group of War Boys and smaller vehicles, to collect fuel from Gastown. The lower left arm and hand of Furiosa have been replaced by a metal prosthesis. On the highway, Furiosa turns away from the route to Gastown, which is seen as a far-off cluster of oil refineries, and travels east. When Joe notices the change in direction, he rushes to the locked chambers where he keeps his 5 wives, young ladies he has chosen to have children with. They are all no longer there, and writing on the walls says our children will not be warlords and who killed the world? Joe is informed by an old person that he isn't allowed to keep people. Joe realizes that Furiosa is stealing the women from him, which causes him to gather the War Boys and pursue Furiosa. All of the War Boys are excited to get involved in the pursuit, but Nux is so frail that he needs a blood bank. As a result, Max tags along for the journey while being shackled to Nux and attached to the driver by a central line transfusion tube. Nux is prepared to lose his life in support of his leader because the War Boys are confident that Immortan Joe can lead them to the gates of Valhalla. The War Boys pursue Furiosa's war rig after it is attacked by the Buzzards, another scavenger tribe. Along with the others, Nux joyfully pursues Furiosa while fastening Max to the hood of his automobile like the figurehead on a ship. They make an effort to approach the rig, but Furiosa pushes most of them away, with the War Boys providing explosive-tipped spears as support. Max tries to escape as Nux approaches the rig. Furiosa travels towards a huge sandstorm that is approaching. Even as they go into dangerous sand tornadoes, Nux keeps after her. While Nux plans a kamikaze run by leaking fuel inside his automobile, a few War Boys are murdered in the storm. When Max is able to overwhelm and stop him, he intends to light a flare and set it on fire. In the storm, the two collide. When Max wakes up, he is still chained and tethered to Nux, who is not awake. He reaches for a shotgun and attempts to shoot Nux's wrist, but the weapon malfunctions. He sees Furiosa's rig and goes over to investigate. There, he discovers 5 stunning ladies cleansing themselves with a hose and cutting off their chastity belts with bolt cutters, the Dag, Kos the Knowing, Capable, Cheeto the Fragile, and the Splendid and Harad. Dag is also carrying his child, and Splendid is 9 months pregnant with Joe's child. Max motions towards the lady with the shotgun and demands the hose. After having a drink, he instructs them to use the cutters to remove his chain. Dag makes an attempt but is unsuccessful. In the distance, Furiosa notices that Joe has recruited more help from the neighboring towns that provide the Citadel with fuel and weapons. The People Eater and the Bullet Farmer command the incoming armies. Max and Furiosa get into a fight as he attempts to sever the chain connecting him to Nux. Max is fighting Furiosa with the assistance of the other women until Nux awakes and lends a hand. Following Nux's chain cutting, Max tries to seize the rig for himself. It stalls, though, and Furiosa is the only one who knows how to restart it because she implanted a kill switch. Although Max allows her to board the rig once more, he declines to take the other women. As she leads them to a place she refers to as the Green Place, Furiosa insists that they follow her. As they ride off in the war vehicle, Nux sneaks on board after Max caves after Furiosa warns him that Joe's gratitude towards Max is likely to be a protracted, agonizing death. The brake line to the fuel pod is cut off, which causes the rig to slacken. Max descends onto the tanker and reattaches the rope. Using a file that Furiosa gave him, Max is able to take off his face mask during this portion of the chase. The biker bandits will seal the pass behind her with a rock avalanche to thwart her pursuit in exchange for the 3,000 gallons of fuel in the caravan pod, according to an agreement Furiosa makes with them. Furiosa drives the vehicle into the canyon where the deal was made. Then she asks Max for his name after teaching him the switch-throwing order needed to disable the kill switch. She yells, "When I yell, fool, drive out of here fast," since she knows he won't tell her. They notice Joe advancing with his army. As soon as she has the 3,000 gallons of fuel, as agreed, Furiosa climbs out and calls to the bikers that she will disconnect the pod and bring it. One of the riders says that although she stated there would just be a few chasers, there are actually 3 large groups. As Max drives the rig away, Furiosa screams "fool," while avoiding bullets in order to place the rig between herself and the bikers. The bikers blow up the flyover, briefly stopping Joe's pursuit even though she never managed to disconnect the fuel trailer. Furiosa and Max fight off the motorcycle bandits as they flee using their own shooting skills. Immortan Joe is able to cross the rockfall in his large-wheeled off-road vehicle. Nux joins him and uses a piece of cloth he stole from Furiosa to show that Splendid is on her rig. Through the desert, there is another chase. While Joe is catching up, the war boys keep attempting to overtake the rig. When Splendid emerges to act as a human shield, Joe is unable to take any action without injuring his possible son as he tries to shoot at the rig. When Nux tries to assist Joe, Joe puts chrome paint in his mouth and threatens to take him to the gates of Valhalla if he succeeds. Joe continues to drive in disappointment as Nux immediately drops his gun in front of him. Splendid attempts to return to the front of the rig, but she slips and is struck by Joe's car. The women urge Max to turn around, but when he tells Furiosa that Splendid fell beneath the wheels, Furiosa orders him to continue. For Splendid, the others sob. While holding Splendid's body, Joe cries angrily behind them. With the promise of assisting the women in avoiding Joe, Nux sneaks back inside the rig. He collapses to the ground, devastated at having let Joe down yet again and at having missed the opportunity to join his personal army. Consolatory is capable. Furiosa speaks to Max at the front about the green place and how she was pulled from it when she was a young child. The vehicle gets bogged in a wide expanse of mud as they continue traveling through the night. A short distance behind them is the Bullet Farmer. The Bullet Farmer is first fired at by Max, who misses, and then by Furiosa, who strikes him cleanly and blinds him by destroying his lights. In order to move the rig forward, Nux advises them to secure the truck's winch rope to a nearby tree. As Splendid is on the verge of passing out, Joe's lieutenant the organic mechanic takes her body and removes the child from her abdomen. He informs Joe that it was a boy even though the baby has also died. Joe reveals that he has a brother to his grown son Rictus. Rictus shouts arrogantly. While Max walks outside to confront the Bullet Farmer directly, the women keep attempting to push the rig out of the mud. He soon returns bearing the blood of the Bullet Farmer on his face and a fine collection of weapons and ammunition as well as a few light explosions that can be seen in the fog in the distance. The Valkyrie, a naked lady, is screaming for aid from a tower when the rig approaches it in the morning. Max assumes it's a trap, but Furiosa emerges and gives the Valkyrie the name of her mother and information about her connection to this clan. After leaving the tower, the Valkyrie dons a robe. The Vuvalini, older women, become more prevalent. Keeper of the Seeds, the oldest, recognizes Furiosa. Furiosa claims to be escorting the women to the green place from the citadel, but Keeper of the Seeds warns her that the green place was actually the mucky swamp they just traveled through, which is now inhospitable. Walking into the sand, Furiosa screams in sorrow before falling to her knees. The Vuvalini consent to assist the citadel ladies in their hunt for a home as they travel over the salt flats, the dried-up ocean. Max chooses to assist the women in returning to the citadel as Joe's vegetation and water supply are currently unattended because he is continually plagued by visions of his wife and child. Additionally, they intend to seize Joe and his army in the canyons. The group returns in the direction of the citadel on their motorbikes. Joe observes them through his telescope and is fully aware of their strategy. He collects his troops and pursues. The Vuvalini assist in retaliation. The Valkyrie defends one of her own while shooting at the war boys before being run over. While Joe is being used as a human shield by Max to murder the People Eater, some of the war boys are also killed by him and Furiosa. One of the war boys also kills Keeper of the Seeds by cutting her neck. Joe takes Toast hostage and holds her captive. As Joe and Rictus move on, Furiosa is stabbed on Joe's car and becomes weaker. Toast diverts Joe for a while, giving Furiosa the chance to attach Joe's mask to the wheels of his vehicle. As the wheels rip off Joe's mask and some of his face, she growls, "Remember me?" to him. The rig then moves in the direction of the canyon as Rictus continues to attempt to stop them. The women exit the vehicle without incident, and Nux bids Capable farewell before swerving into the canyon, where he gives his life to kill Rictus and bring down the flyover in order to destroy Joe's army. Furiosa's lungs almost give out as she returns to the Citadel. To let her breathe, Max makes a little hole in her side. As she begins to lose consciousness, Max gives a blood transfusion. As she closes her eyes, he finally shares his name with her. The team reaches the Citadel. Everyone applauds as Max displays Joe's mouthless corpse to the crowd. They consume Joe's corpse by tearing it apart. The water supply is turned on, providing the populace with all the water they require. Ascending, Furiosa appears to take the helm as the new ruler. She and Max exchange respectful smiles once more before he disappears into the crowd to pursue his own path. Well, that's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it, and please support us by subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to get notification for new videos every we post.